G'day, my name's Wendy. I'm from a business called Vision Walks Eco Tours, and I'm going to take you on a very special virtual koala tour today with my very good friend, Katrina at Koala Gardens. So we're actually located in near Byron Bay in northern New South Wales on the east coast of Australia. And the Koala Gardens is located just south of Byron Bay. And it is a 14-acre ex-dairy farm that has been regenerated both naturally and by planting trees, and is now the home to a wonderful koala colony. And the beautiful owner that lives there, Katrina, every day she goes out and she monitors what koalas are there and which ones are there, and she keeps a record of them all. And then when I'm running tours, either like this, or I can actually take people and see them in real life. So you'll see Katrina has actually got a picture of a koala up. He's actually a very important koala. His name is Hugo. Oh, and he's waking up a little bit. Isn't that nice? Oh, are you going to have a scratch, Hugo? So Hugo is actually the alpha male for the colony. Oh, he's having a bit of a move around. What are you up to, Hugh? Now, all the koalas on her property, there he is. I think he might even start to have a feed. All the koalas at Koala Gardens have names, and they're all named by the followers, the social media followers and Patreons of Koala Gardens. All get to name the koalas. But they're all wild and free. There is no fences there. And the koalas can come and go as they please. But because it's a lovely, safe environment, there's a beautiful colony of koalas, which includes lots of females with little joeys at the moment, and some males like this big boy, Hugo. So let me tell you a bit more about koalas. Koalas, like most of our mammals in Australia, are marsupials. So what that means is the mothers will keep the young ones in a pouch. So you're familiar probably with kangaroos keeping their joeys in a pouch. Well, koalas do the same because they're all marsupials. And in fact, most of the mammals in Australia are actually marsupials, and the only ones that are not are the bats and rats and mice, although we do have some mice that are also marsupials. What are you up to? What are you up to? Oh, he's having a scratch. So we do have some mice that are also marsupials. And then, of course, the dingoes are not. They are also placental mammals like the bats and the rats. Oh, he's having a bit of a move around. And then we have the other weird ones, which are called the monotremes, which are the egg-laying mammals. And those are the platypuses and the echidnas. And an echidna, some of you might be familiar with a platypus. So they're the duck-billed platypus that are just weird mammals with a duck bill that have fur and they lay eggs. They're the most ancient of our living mammals. And the echidnas are more like a porcupine kind of mammal that, but they also lay eggs. But all the rest are marsupials like our friends here, the koalas. I'm not sure if he's with that branch he's sitting on. It doesn't look like it's big enough to hold big old Hugo here. But anyway, he's trying to get comfy. If we're lucky, he might wake up and have a little bit to eat. So talking about eating, they mostly eat eucalyptus leaves. In Australia, we have about 700 species of eucalyptus. And of those, the koalas tend to eat about 30. But every region has different, they have different species of eucalyptus. So the koalas are mostly down the east coast of Australia. And that's the only real place they exist in the whole world in nature. There are some in South Australia, but they were actually introduced into South Australia, but you know, they're flourishing there, so that's fine. But they're mostly down the east coast. So there's all different species of eucalyptus down the east coast, and in each region, the koalas will eat specific trees. So, so the trees they tend to like in this area are the forest red gums, the tallow woods, and the swamp mahoganies. So this tree he's in, is that a forest red gum there, Katrina?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't realise my mic was still on. Yes, that is a forest red gum that he's in right now.
That's one that they just absolutely love, this species. But what you couldn't do is, so in, say, Victoria, they don't have forest red gums. They have different eucalyptus. So you can't move, say, the koalas from Victoria to up here to New South Wales, because they would just go, I can't eat that. That's nothing I can eat. So one of the things you're seeing here with him, we're hoping he's going to wake up, actually eat something in a minute, but they sleep a lot, and they're sleeping about 18 to 20 hours a day, and most of that is because they're trying to digest the leaves that they've eaten and conserve their energy, because they're not really getting a lot of nutritional benefit from the leaves that they're eating, and it takes them a while to digest them. So once they've had a feed, they'll have a nice big long sleep like this, and then they'll wake up, have another feed, and maybe come down and change a tree even. So yeah, so they spend most of their time asleep in trees, which is good for us to try and find them. Oh, he's looking at us now. Hello. Hello, beautiful. Can you just move that little piece of stick that's in your face there, Hugo? Thank you. So let me talk a bit about their life cycle. So so he is actually the alpha male. So most of the females are wanting to mate with him. So their gestation period is about 35 days. Our gestation period is about 40 weeks. That's because we develop inside the womb. And what happens with them after they mate, it gestates for about 35 days, and then it comes out. It's just a little jelly baby. Comes out of the birth canal, goes into the pouch, and latches onto one of her two teats, and there it'll stay, suckling on milk. It like fuses on, like it's like becomes almost part of the teat, and there it'll stay until it's about, we start to see them coming out of the pouch around 6 or 7 months, and then you see the little faces coming out, and sometimes an arm, and then eventually they'll come out of the pouch, and then they become what we call back young, and that's when they hold on to their mums pretty close, and then they'll still go back into the pouch, especially when she's moving around, and they'll still be suckling milk. She also has to produce this special stuff called pap that the babies need to eat, and when they eat that, then that gives them the right bacteria in their stomach so they can actually digest the leaves. And then as the joey gets a little older, it'll be on the branch next to mum, and then it might be on the tree next to mum, and then it'll come back to mum. And then eventually, it depends on the size of the joey, but around 12 to 14 months, they usually leave their mother and go and find their own way in the world. Now, the little females tend to stay around the home range of their mothers, which can be like, it depends on the habitat, but it can be like 1 to 2 kilometres. They don't always do that, but some of the ones on Katrina's property here, she's got multi-generationals of female koalas that are actually living on her property or have lived on her property. So they definitely stay sometimes in the home range of their mums, and sometimes they go off and find their own way. The little boys, the little males, they have to leave because the alpha male will not tolerate any little boys or any other males around his females. So he will see them off. And one of the things he does, he has a scent gland on his front, and he actually will rub that all over all the trees in his area to tell the other boys that this is his place. And this is where we are now. This is Hugo's place. Hello, Hugo. So I want to talk a little bit about their threats, which are a lot. So before white man came to Australia, there was about 10 million koalas in Australia, and we lost about 8 million of them to hunting. They were hunted for their fur because it was much prized. It's quite water resistant, and it's quite warm. So people really love their fur. Unfortunate for them. But in fact, it was actually an American president that stopped our koala hunting industry in the 1930s, and that was Herbert Hoover. And he actually just said, we are no longer going to accept your koala pelts from Australia. And that basically stopped our koala hunting industry in its tracks. So we're very, very grateful that that decision was made, because if it hadn't been, I don't think we'd be standing here today looking at this koala. In saying that, though, they are definitely in trouble. And we all heard about the bad bushfires in 2019 and 20. In this area, we lost about 70% of our koalas during that time, which was devastating. And in fact, the colony that lives on Katrina's property, just after that, actually collapsed. And the fire didn't hit her property, but there was a lot of environmental problems happening at the time. So you had a drought, you had the air was thick with smoke, and then we had all these rains that came, which made the dry leaves even too rich for the animals. And when they were gorging themselves on it, it made some of them sick because it was too rich. And unfortunately, some of the alpha male of the property and the alpha male on the property, plus the one of the main females also died. And when they died, the whole colony collapsed. But it's been coming back, and just this year, Katrina's actually got, I think you've got 5 joeys on the property now. Is that true? Is that right now, Katrina? 5?
That's right. It's so exciting because that is a record for this property. The previous record was having 4 mums with joeys, and this year we've got 5 mums with joeys.
That is just so super, super exciting, because that means that the colony is building back, hopefully better and stronger than ever. So that's really, really super important. So the other threats, other than climate change, is a massive threat for koalas and other wildlife. We also have, they have a disease called chlamydia, which also goes through the population. And Hugo here only just got out of hospital a few days ago after he caught chlamydia, and Katrina was able to catch him and take him to the koala hospital at Friends of the Koala, and they treated him, and now he can see him out here back, and he won't be passing chlamydia on to any of the females on the property, which is great. So that's the reason why we need to catch them, because we don't want it spreading through this population. So chlamydia is definitely one of the threats. The other threats are things like dogs. Dogs can attack them when they're on the ground, which is a problem. On Katrina's property, she doesn't have any dogs, but neighbouring properties are farms, so they do have dogs, which is a bit of an issue. So some other things about the property: it's under a conservation order, which means no matter what, no one can actually, no matter what, the property will be protected as a conservation area forever, which is great news. And we need more and more properties like this. And Katrina's actually been working with her neighbours to actually create corridors for the koalas. And we're not just saying koalas, actually, it's all wildlife can use these corridors. So it's really super important. And with my business, I also plant trees with a group called Bangalow Koalas. So they are advocates for koalas, just like Friends of the Koala. But one of the big things they do is they do tree planting days. And so I go out planting trees with them. And actually just the other day, just yesterday, they posted up a picture of a koala in some trees that we planted just 3 years ago, which is super exciting. I couldn't believe when I saw those pictures today. So that's very exciting stuff. So it does make a difference. Planting trees does make a difference, but not chopping them down in the first place is a better option. But we'll continue to plant trees, but we've really got to stop chopping them down. So I mentioned before that their numbers before white man got to Australia were about 10 million. Now we're not sure exactly, but we think there's about 50,000. So just a few months ago, they were actually listed as endangered, which is very sad. But you would think that would then protect them, which it should. But unfortunately, even just this week, the Forestry Corporation, who are the people who harvest timber, were just fined again for harvesting koala food trees and large trees, which they're not supposed to do. So we've got a lot of work in front of us if we're going to save this very iconic species. But we can do it. We can do it with a little bit of will and a lot of hard work. We should be able to pull them back from the brink. And I think you'll agree they are pretty darn cute. So so if we can't save something as cute and iconic as this, I don't think we have much hope. So if you want to make, you can adopt a koala from Koala Gardens. If you go to koalagardens.net.au, is that correct, Katrina?
Yes, that's the address.
And if you go there, you can actually make a donation or adopt a koala. Other organisations in the area, of course, are Friends of the Koala and Bangalow Koalas. So that's all from us. Have you got anything you would like to say, Katrina?
You've rounded it out really nicely, Wendy, as to what's happening with our koalas and what the threats are. As much as it's important to do research and have hospitals, what we really need to do is get more and more landowners not destroying habitat. As Wendy said, don't cut down another single tree, but also just to have private landowners planting and thinking about how they can work with nature on their property, because the private landowners own most of the land. So we have the power to change the landscape. And that's something I advocate for all the time.
Absolutely. So that's a really good point there, Katrina. So we'd like to say goodbye from Australia. Enjoy the rest of your event. And we hope to see you one day in person. Or even Hugo's saying goodbye there. We hope to see you in person one day down under. Bye.